Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back, and Rama says hello too.
Yes, he does. He's breathing in our ears right here. He is a unique soul. At times I feel Zeke's presence in him so clearly. It was just the way he came running into the house this morning, panting, because they play nonstop, these two, 9 months old. And it was so much like Zeke. But then again, Zeke is with him, and Zeke is still with us. And again, the bigger picture that has been hidden from most of humanity is that we're never alone. We have so many beings that have loved us all along, beings that, maybe passed down when we were kids, beings that maybe we never knew of in this life, but have been there the whole time. We're never alone.
No, we're not. And, many of us have lost loved ones that are so near and so dear. And when they leave this realm, it is very difficult to adjust. Even if you do understand that energy only changes form, it never ever goes away. It just changes form. So even when you know these things and you lose someone in the 3D, it can be difficult to walk through. It does help, though, to find that realization and understanding that your loved one is still with you, but in a different form, in a different way. They never go away.
No, they never do. And, there's a few things we're going to touch on in this particular video, and then we'll go in deeper on some of these topics in later videos. One of the things that, I wanted to touch on, like, the guides have been very clear, but always gentle, and they never, at the same time, they'll never give us too much info that will infringe on our free will. That is so key karmically. And again, we've talked about how the controllers will also give us things to help shape the direction that they want the planet to go in. And yet they're very careful to always make it so that it's our choice to follow, our choice to manifest. Even when we don't understand, that's what we're doing. And again, most of the people on this planet are, are sheep, for lack of a better word. They're following the shepherd, whoever that shepherd is. And I think most people have good intentions. I think most people do. Not all. But I think those that don't have good intentions are a smaller proportion. Yet, as we know, you could have, 10 people in a room and 9 people trying to get along as harmoniously as possible. One person out there doing the opposite can create such distress and havoc that peace becomes almost an impossibility. And right now what we have is, again, like 99.998% of the planet that is being controlled by 0.0002%. And there's a reason for all these things. Last night, Cindy was in touch with Nostradamus, and we're going to work more with Nostradamus. I've always been drawn to him, and again, so many of these things are past life related. Our consciousness is not what we think it is. It's not what you've been brought up with. And if you think that you are the body is just a tiny percentage of what you are, because your consciousness your whole consciousness cannot even be contained in this body. This is only a portion of you that's, i.e., in here, so to speak. When we're out of the Dark Age, when we're out of the Kali Yuga, we can openly, and even in the Kali Yuga, there are those shamans, there are those, whatever term you want to use, psychics, clairvoyants, shamans, witches, there's all different terms we could use to describe people that have these apparently paranormal abilities to communicate with people that are not alive in a physical 3D body. And of course, we've been made phobic about that whole concept in this reality, because this reality is all about keeping us under control. They don't want us having sources of information available to us that would bust their paradigm. And that's why they've gone all over the world creating this Western society that's in its death throes right now. You know, the Western society is going to end up collapsing in on itself, and this whole society is it's fated for extinction. It can't go on, and it's collapsing. It's just so evident how everything is just falling apart so much, and so much of it is completely manufactured. They know what they're doing because, again, their time is short, yet they also know the bigger picture. When we're out of this body, we're mostly in 4D. And there is opportunities at certain points in time when we have these ascension events where people can move past the 4D and go totally out of the range of these controllers. And even in these times, the controllers don't really control everybody. That's part of what we have to understand. You know, we've been given hellfire and brimstone if you don't obey, but that's not the reality. It's only if you believe in that you could actually manifest that yourself. We are actually very, very powerful, expansive beings. And we can communicate with those that are no longer in the 3D body, and that will become the norm as we move out of this. It's going to be not unusual to still go into a meditative state and connect with your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle that have left your density, that your consciousness is primarily residing within, and that might even be the wrong term when you get down to it, as again, the higher self is the truer self, and the higher self is way beyond what most people can comprehend.
And right now, people are going through a very difficult time as we have that storm that really wreaked havoc through so many homes and created so much disaster. And many people are going to be having to process this information of losing someone or having a great loss of their home, family, pets, loved ones. So this is a really big deal right now, I feel, where people are going to be pondering and trying to make sense out of what happened and why did it happen, and really maybe struggling with the feeling of loss, and that can create long-term trauma. I really want to have people understand that there's no true loss. Everything is constantly in motion. Life is in constant motion, and things are ever changing, and we go through ups and we go through downs, and no matter how down it might seem, we really need to find that silver lining, find the purpose in things, and sometimes that can take years. That can take years sometimes, but the whole purpose in finding that silver lining is so that at some point in your life, some way, somehow, you can help someone else who is struggling just as hard as you were. How nice would it be if you know, someone was in pain and then somebody else walked up right next to them and just said the most magical, beautiful, perfect thing they needed to hear in that moment. And that's where we're all at. We are all doing this. We are all in preparation for that for each other.
And that's beautiful. So we were talking to Nostradamus last night, and Cindy was in a partial trance, and he purposely made his quatrains the way he did. A big percentage of why he did it the way he did it was to avoid karmic consequences. Because, I mean, if he came straight out and said things extremely clear, then, again, he's getting to the point where he's helping to manifest a negative timeline. This is something that we're always dancing with. And, you know, it's always something that I'm trying to be careful, you know, so that we don't create a negative timeline. But at the same time, if we don't say anything and we don't help people to prepare that we could help to prepare, then are we not, you know, costing lives? it's a fine line, and they understand this. People like Nostradamus and Edgar Casey and many others that are not as well known, that have tried to warn humanity about possible timelines, because the reality is the likelihood of something happening today is slightly different from yesterday, and that's slightly different from tomorrow. There's not a reality that's set in stone. And of course, some people want to believe, well, it's all God's will, and we have nothing to do with it. But the reality is, Source has enabled these beings that are amazing creator beings to create entire universes for the very exploration of them. They are, in so many ways, you could view them in our modern society as like going to Universal Studios, going to Disney World, going to, all these different places. As we just had a bird land a few feet from us, and all the dogs went running over to it. Like, what are you doing so close to us? That's kind of like what it is. It's like, hey, do you want to go to Universal Studios today? Well, no, let's go to Disney. No, let's go to SeaWorld. Again, it's, in some ways, it is entertainment for the soul. In other ways, it's learning and growth for the soul, and experiences to have. Because ultimately, we're consciousness. Energy can't be created or destroyed. It just simply can change forms and manifest in different ways. And yet we're all part of Source. Source is in all of us. And again, if Source is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omnipotent, it has to be in all of us. It has to be in the trees that you're looking at. It has to be in Rama and Sita, Cindy, me, you, everybody that you come in contact with. The chicken that you eat for dinner, or the fish that you're frying for dinner, or maybe you're having spaghetti. In some way, shape, or form, Source is in everything. It's just, it is what it is, ultimately. And yet there are these beings, these creator beings, that manifest entire universes. And that could be you someday. You could actually end up manifesting a universe at some point along the growth of the soul, because we are all co-creators in training as we go through all of these experiences. And as we know, sometimes the most difficult situations lead to the most soul growth.
Mm-hmm. And in some way, shape, or form, everyone is in charge of their own kingdom. They're, even if you're a child living at home, you have your room or you have your space, and this is your kingdom. And what we choose to do inside of that kingdom is going to have a ripple effect. So we all need to look and see, what are we in charge of, and realize, wow, we are creators. We are responsible for these things, and how life is going to form and grow or not grow, things around us, how they shape and how they happen. We have a lot more control than we think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, limiting our belief systems, limiting our ability to understand the universe and ourselves, is exactly how they keep us under their control, or give us the illusion that we're under their control, because in reality we're not. And even if the Nibiruans came themselves in their ships and parked over our skies and outright sat down and said they were taking over the planet, still, they really wouldn't be able to control us. That's the bottom line, unless we choose to let them control us. And again, it's a choice, and it's a choice that we have to be very, very aware of in everything we do, because they're always trying to trick us. Always, this draconian AI collective, which is on its heels, because it is being purged from many other realms, and it will be. It's not part of the original intention of the creator of this universe that presence is here. Duality, yes, but not that artificial intelligence, draconian infestation, which is very much like a virus. When we talk about viruses, this is where they come from. They come from this this collective. It's not part of the normal programming. It's not part of this normal matrix. And, you know, that's part of the issues that we face, is that this is an inversion of everything that is supposed to be. And it's so obvious to see it. Everything that is natural is distorted completely on purpose. As we see Sita, I don't know, is she going to go climbing?
She wants to sleep on the cot.
She wants to sleep on the cot.
Yeah. Yes, yes. It is very difficult in these days with all the AI and all of the chaos and all of the things that are so distracting to find your authentic self. But that's the most important thing we can do in this lifetime, is not let our journey be altered through synthetic means. You know, I think if you're an old soul, that we should stand back and look at all the things that are creating chaos and disturbances and peel those away, much like an onion, so we can have the most authentic, raw kind of journey that we could possibly have, because it's within those raw moments that we find out who we are and what this place is all about. And they go to great lengths to find the chaos and put things in front of us to take that journey away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a big reason why the quatrains are written the way they were was so that he could avoid, Nostradamus could avoid any sort of karmic negative repercussions for actually causing them to come true. Yet he did put out warnings out there. And so he did say for us to get his book back out, because we have a book of the quatrains in numerical order, not one of those books where somebody's giving you all their opinions, although yes, originally written in French, it has to be translated over. And this is part of the translations of things, you know, things that were maybe originally written in Greek and then translated to Latin and then translated to German and then translated to English, and, you know, things translated from Hebrew to Aramaic. Yeah, there's always errors that are made in all these translations. And the important thing really is for us to learn how to let the guidance within guide us. And it always boggles my mind that people will blindly believe something that's in a book that they don't realize has hundreds or thousands of edits and constant changes in it, and they think it's the ineffable word of God. And it's just ignorance that makes them think that, because there's edits all over the place, words crossed out. If you just take the time to look up the documents that people are basing their translations on, you'll see things crossed out and other words put in their insertions. You know, you trust something that we're told was given to us as a divine inspiration, i.e. channeled work thousands of years ago, but you won't trust people that you could actually look at or listen to or develop the ability yourself to get your own. That's the highest goal, is to develop your own discernment. Of course, you know, there is fluoride and signals and all sorts of interference everywhere, and that's why it's there in this matrix, is so that you can't have discernment. So you have to trust the controller's words, which they give you. And again, so many people do. They might not trust MSNBC, but they trust the rest of the controller's paradigm. And they don't understand that they are. And they're effectively helping to manifest these things. There are certain things that are almost unavoidable at certain points in time. Again, who controls the armies of this world? Well, until the people throw down their arms, until the soldiers walk away, the controllers are still controlling them. And we know, many of you guys realize, most of you that follow this channel, 99% that follow this channel on a regular basis, understand that, again, the countries... Come here, Ron.
Come here, baby.
The countries are subservient to the corporate masters. And again, the corporate masters, there's certain bloodlines. Those bloodlines actually communicate with beings that are non-Homo sapiens on a regular basis and get their orders. That's how the flow of power really happens. But we're waking up to that. And their whole facade is collapsing for those that have eyes to see. Now, Nostradamus did say that this hurricane was in his quatrains somewhere, so we'll have to see about that. And I asked him about several other quatrains that are in my mind, memorized since I was an 11-year-old. And, you know, he could kind of give us nudges in some directions where, yep, you're on the right track. You might want to look a little bit broader perspective, or no, you're looking a little bit too far to the left. Look a little bit more to the right.
Rum.
You know, so he could give those things, but he couldn't come straight out without basically setting himself up for a karmic downfall on that side, and while he's in 4D. And he is in 4D, although he is planning on communicating with us more and working with us more often.
He is very, very careful. He has a keen understanding of karmic repercussions, and people that do speak certain things, they do have visions, and they're very real, but we have to understand that that carries a certain energy, and that energy can be directed. And this is our problem the entire time, is we've allowed our energies to be directed here, to be directed there. So, you know, if this is the case, then we really need to find a way to point our energies in a very positive direction that is going to bring us to our true, authentic self. And it keeps going back to that. If we want to make the maximum out of this journey, this lifetime, we need to peel away the distractions, peel away the layers of pain and torment, and heal our emotions as much as possible, and then take a look at our lives and our journey and where we're at and how things feel, because they will have a different perspective, a different point of view after you've had some kind of emotional healing.
You know, there was another quatrain that I brought up which talks about a dreadful act coming from the east, and about this time period. And, you know, he did basically say that the war, you know, this third global conflagration is underway, and the attack has already been started. And we can see, and we should be able to recognize the attack's been started, as we've said many times, just logically looking to that speech by Chinese military official back in 2005, talking about how the first strike would not be a strike of missiles. It wouldn't be an invasion of the U.S. No, they'd have to soften us up with BIO, logical warfare. And that's what's underway right now. There's a series of things that are happening. And it's setting it up for these events to occur later, when there will actually be conflict on this soil. And on the current timeline that we're on, it still looks likely. We need to, again, work our best magic to counteract this, to get the people that are in positions to carry out, that, you know, the controllers are counting on to carry out their words, their will. We have to get the people to say, no, I know what you're doing, and we won't. And we see, and I do think it's real, that there are many people that are doing their best to avoid the draft that's happening out there in Russia, the conscription. And this will end up happening in the NATO countries as well at some point. Although the conflict that's to come, again, it's underway already. And the U.S. is obviously the strongest military power in the world, and it needs to be kind of moved out of the way before some of these other quatrains, which speak about a massive invasion of Europe. Before that happens, it's going to, not that it won't be necessarily very close to simultaneously, but again, the U.S. needs to be removed from a position of being able to respond in any way, shape, or form. And of course, you know, when you have a boxer that's been paid to take a fall, there you go. You know, you could lay all your money on that guy, and he's paid to take a fall. He's not going to throw a real punch to try to knock out the opponent. You know, he's going to swing and miss on purpose.
Mm-hmm. And that happens just way too often. People are conditioned to find these things acceptable. And that's another thing in our society that's happening, is the fraying of the family, you know, that place where people have a safe place to feel at home. They have a purpose and they have divine understanding, and that's really been frayed. It's gone into our schools, and it's almost like a cancer that really needs to be teased out. That's very deliberate to make us weaker as a country.
So, you know, one thing we were clearly getting from the guides for the last several months, because, you know, just totally honest with you guys, you know how much I've always said, those that follow the channel, I love water, and I come from a nautical family. But yet, I know we have a ways to go before we can be on the ocean or near the ocean in these times. It's not part of the plans for us personally. So, you know, the guides have said there's going to be numerous events on the timeline that we're on right now. Now, that was, you know, again, months ago. And, you know, this seems to be one of those events that they were talking about. And again, everything is fluid. So at that point in time, several months ago, this event might not have been this event. And maybe this event, you know, came about because of a change in circumstances, be it sooner or later. But they did say there was going to be massive migrations of people away from coastlines. And, you know, again, it was in the multiple. We could always change these timelines that we're on. It's all contingent on consensus reality. And again, waking people up to the fact that, I mean, if we really could wake up enough people, we could collapse the system so quick. And we're making inroads. But again, this is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take people, everybody in their own way. If you're not making videos like this, then share them everywhere you possibly can. Feel brave to talk to people. If you so feel moved and you want to do your part, feel brave. Feel that strength to talk to people about what's going on. And many of us have family that ridicule us, you know, and we do too. You know, it's interesting, you know, it's one of Cindy's daughters is her mini-me, and the other daughter is very contrarian, and will almost always do the opposite. My own daughter, same thing. She's just so stubborn, and, you know, she's just got to be in control of everything, and that's her way. And so whatever Dad says, she'll do the opposite. So I don't really tell her directly. I might go through her mother and say, you know, you might want to nudge her that something is coming along like this, because she might take it a little bit better from her mother than she would from me. But again, we all have this this dynamic going on. And my sister is a nurse, and she's 30 years into the medical system. For her to all of a sudden say, everything I thought and held as truths are not true, she can't do it. She just can't do it, and she won't do it. So, you know, she'll again be contrarian to the end. This is, again, you could look at it biblically and say, well, the truth will divide households. It can set brother against sister, you know, sons against parents and daughters as well, because again, not everybody is going to be able to recognize the bigger picture of what's going on, and not everybody is going to want to get out of the system, because there's those that have benefited so well by being part of the system that they really don't want to get out of the system. It's, again, the rich man's son. You know, what do I really got to do? I like your teachings, but what do I really got to do? Give up all your belongings and follow me? Nah, can't do that. I have too many things. Well, in some ways, when we see this storm, it's kind of going to give people the options to change their ways. Because many of those homes that were destroyed are million-dollar homes. And some of those are million-dollar homes that are second homes for people, or just simply vacation homes. And we know there's so many people that can't afford their own home in the first place. This is part of the restructuring of everything on the planet. And it's all going to be restructured. And this entire system it's not going to be fixed. The entire system is going to be removed. And it's up to us and whether we want to embrace getting back to nature, so to speak, in more ways than one, embrace the original plan, or if we're going to go down with the ship that the controllers have given us.
You know, everybody's got to make their own decision, what's best for them, and just do the best you can with what you got. You know, if you see something wrong in your life and it's not something that you can live with, it's up to you to change it. And we're all going to have family members or friends that are going to change their ways, and as we change in frequency and vibration, people might separate from one another, and that's okay. That's people choosing their path. It's just we have to really know what's good for us in an authentic way.
Absolutely. So there'll be more to come. We wanted to leave you with those thoughts. We look forward to your comments, and let us know again what other topics you guys want to go into. We have not found really a person that Cindy could not communicate with that's no longer on the planet. So if you have any other suggestions, other people that you're intrigued by that you want to see if we could get in contact with and connect with and get their take on things, feel free to put out suggestions. As always, thank you guys for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Check out Evolutionaryenergyarts.com as well to learn more about us. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.